So there's one thing that you said that I just have to go back to.
Please do.
Because I'm sure people will want to go back to, is you said, I'm a good girl.
Yeah.
And therefore I can't do all of these sexual things.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that you're a good girl if you don't have a large sexual repertoire?
I don't think it's about having no skills or anything like that. But what I would say, it's not personally, I'm not saying me, good girl, I'm saying in general, good women. I would just say that women that are accustomed to monogamy find sex sacred. That's all it is. So sex is a sacred experience. It's not that they're madly in love with their husband sometimes. It's just that they don't want to have sex with anybody else. Simple as that. They don't want to touch another man once they're with this man. He could be a nightmare. He could drive her crazy. He could be unfaithful. He could be a headache. Her monogamy comes from her perception of sex. And then usually her perception of sex is that it's incredibly sacred. It's not something you spread around freely. And I don't feel comfortable exposing these skill sets that I've learned to any man. Women who are able to expose a lot of that to several men very early on just have a more relaxed perception of sex. I'm not saying they're wrong or bad women, but their perception of sex is it's a fun activity. It's not a sacred activity. Nothing wrong with that. But as a result of it being a fun activity, just like how you might play tennis with a couple of people and they might see sex in that same way. It's not that serious. If you want to know how monogamous a woman is, it's not how you treat her, it's how she sees sex.
This is going to be dangerous. But let's talk about one of the reasons why, and I've heard you talk about this, why it is so challenging, and that is pornography.
Yeah.
Especially men viewing pornography. So is that your opinion, that pornography is actually is drastically hurting modern dating?
I feel a bit like a broken record because it's like when somebody comes to me, first thing I ask is, what's your pornography habit? And firstly, what it does is if they're single, it primes them for being cheated on in their relationships heavily. And the reason why it primes them for being cheated on when you watch a lot of pornography is men become impatient with sexual satisfaction the more pornography they watch. So when they're dating and on the dating scene, the woman that takes a lot of warming up before she gets promiscuous or before she starts to introduce new ideas and stuff, good women, they need emotional connection first. Women that are actually monogamous, they need emotional connection, and then you can experiment. What happens with men that watch a lot of pornography, they don't have patience for a girl like that. They want a girl that is happy to join threesomes, use all sorts of toys, do all sorts of craziness from day one. That's the girl they want. They don't realize in the process of selecting that, she has to have some level of promiscuity behind her. So as a result, they get attached to this fantastic sex that they get immediately, not realizing the woman comes with an unconscious contract that I do this all the time. You are not special to me. I can be this promiscuous and this freaky with several men. So they end up getting madly attached to this woman who has a different perspective on monogamy and monogamous sex. The second thing it does is it really ruins their sexual performance, but they think they're fantastic. So it gives a complete warped perception of reality. They think they're reincarnating all these moves and showing her all these skills and she's going to love this. I'm going to throw her around the bedroom and do this, that, and the other. She's just thinking this feels like mutual masturbation. It doesn't feel connected in any way, shape, or form. So they actually end up being serial daters and one-night stands, not because they're so great. It's because women don't come back to them. Women don't want them again. They don't want that kind of and the only ones that might do are the ones that are incredibly promiscuous and like that kind of vibe. And therefore, they end up in relationships that actually were built on intimacy, but don't have any intimacy. And that's the problem I find.
Wow. Do you see any positives to pornography?
I have to say I'm biased with this. Yeah, this is the thing I have to say. I'm very biased with this because of my religious beliefs and stuff. I haven't engaged in pornography, so I can't tell you what the positives are. And when I do look at the research, they do show that it does help spice up the relationship. It does help do all of those things. It's just that the dangers outweigh the positives, just like with gambling, alcohol, and drugs and stuff. For that reason, I'm always like, please be aware of it. But I do find that what it does in the men's ability to connect with their wives, particularly in marriages, is that it's not worth it. When a woman is dating or married to a porn addict, she feels like she can't get through to him because her normal way of like kind of resolving conflict or getting a man back on side is through intimacy. When he is able to outsource that, she loses her ability to reconnect with him, and therefore the marriage ends up drifting apart.
All right.
So you have to bear that in mind.
This is fair. So now we're living in a day and age where there's a massive, I will call, sex positivity movement. We had a guest talking about monogamish relationships, polyamorous relationships, polyandrous relationships. Do you believe that non-monogamous relationships, is that helpful or hurtful to dating?
Do you know, it's hard to tell because look, culturally people have always been polygamous and it's always worked. It's never been so much of a problem. In this day and age, I think because the exit plan is so easy when things are not working out, polygamy added to that doesn't actually help. I haven't actually seen too many polygamous marriages work out. And the reason being is in my personal experience, what I've noticed is when a man allows a woman to access another man on his watch, she can no longer trust and respect her original man ever again. Something happens to her. Maybe with women it's different. I don't know enough. But say, for example, if my husband says, hey, you can go sleep with this guy. No worries. Go have fun. Enjoy yourself. Just keep me in the loop. In the process of me doing that, what will happen is I don't feel like he's protective and like he's not a protective man anymore. Oh. I could be wrong, but that's what I've noticed.
This is fair. And I like how you preface that from my experience. Yeah. So what about the woman in that situation that would push back and say, well, I have complete agency over my body and I can protect and provide myself?
In that case, then here's the thing. Marriage isn't for you then. It's as simple as that. I'll meet girls that say, I'm a complete free person. I have complete agency over my sex. I don't need someone telling me what to do. Marriage is an institution. It involves restrictions. It involves being answerable to somebody. The whole process is like checking yourself into prison and saying, I'm a free person. Marriage is an emotional prison in some ways. So when you have that mentality, by all means have that mentality, but don't try and squeeze it into marriage. Marriage isn't for you then, because marriage involves compromising. Sometimes we have to let go of our agency and replace it with community. The two of us, communal. We have to make communal decisions. If you are opposed to communal decisions and anybody stepping in and saying, sometimes I know you're free to do whatever you want, but that affects me. That makes me feel uncomfortable when you're going out with that guy at this time. And it makes me feel uncomfortable. If your response is, well, I do what I want, you're not fit to be a wife. But if your response is, I understand there's times where you do certain things that I also don't like. I don't also like when you're talking to that secretary. I don't feel comfortable. When both of you understand that there's sometimes you have to do what's best for the marriage rather than what's best for you. You're built to be married.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I tell you what you are saying right here and now is completely counter to what you hear pop media talking about right now. It's very bold.
And I also mentioned that even if a man is like that, marriage is not for him.
Yes, even if a man.
I promise you, even if you have a man who's like, I do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. If I'm going to go to the club, I'm going to go to the club. If I want to like pictures, I'm going to like pictures. Don't tell me. No worries. But you're not a husband.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why, though, and I'm with you, because you're not saying it's gender specific.
No.
But the reason why I think it's so interesting and why it's so bold for you to say this is because of what we talked about with the sexual revolution.
Yes.
And this whole idea of women now are out earning men, especially under the age of 35, out educating men, especially under the age of 35, and at a place where many women can protect themselves, provide for themselves, but yet are still interested in having a committed long-term relationship like a marriage. And you're saying marriage is not for you. That's bold.
But I just think, isn't that common sense? Because the whole purpose of a marriage is taking one person and deciding that you're the person that sometimes I might forego my personal desires to make our union work. And he should be doing the same thing. Now, if neither of us are prepared to do that, we can't be married. We can be friends. We can be living together. We can do something, but we can't be married. But from your perspective as somebody who is married, do you feel like sometimes you do have to forego what you truly want in order to make the marriage work? Or do you think it should just be two agencies?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And this is where, to a certain degree, I agree with you. But where I disagree with you is that it's dependent on the type of relationship that you want.
Right.
You know, I think that when you speak, and there's a reason why I think it is so confident, is that you speak with a certain set of values.
Yeah.
Right. But the challenge, though, is that you can't take those values and apply them to everyone.
Right.
Because everyone has a different set of values.
Absolutely.
And so, but I think you and I share a lot of the same values. So when I hear you, I'm like, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Do you think that if two people wanted to be totally independent and do whatever they want and came together in a marriage, do you think they could still last a long time? Or do you think the lack of compromise would eventually lead them to break up?
It depends what you want. You know, there's a massive movement around living apart but together.
Right.
And I have friends actually who are in this zone.
Yeah.
So they sleep in different beds.
Yes.
A matter of fact, sometimes they sleep in different homes.
Oh, wow.
They have children, but they don't consider themselves intellectually equal.
Right.
They don't
I've
consider
experienced that.
themselves best friends. They have a loose relationship. They're completely satisfied with their relationship. I don't think they'll ever break up. Could I exist in that relationship? Hell no.
Well, what
Hell
I
no.
would say in those relationships, and I've witnessed this as well, particularly in Dubai, people live double lives, and they're very, very affluent, so they can afford to kind of separate rooms, so this, that, and the other, nannies, all that stuff. So what I noticed in those scenarios is there's always one of those that's giving more to make that scenario work. So one of them is paying both bills, or one of them is cooking meals for. So somebody's still investing more to keep that co-parenting environment alive, and that's the person that resents the other more.
I think we're totally on the same page. That on a percentage basis, will those relationships, on a higher percentage, will they fail? Absolutely.
Yeah, they will absolutely. But I can see the logic in it, because I've seen that work where they waited until the kids are old enough where they can actually speak to them about the divorce, and they can, and I'm like, I understand that. If it's waiting till the kids get into a particular school where they can both co-parent, well, why not do with that?
Why not? I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm loving this conversation. All right. Let's talk about this too, is that 2020, the number of OnlyFans users was 85 million. But in 2023, that number had increased to 170 million. Is OnlyFans helping or hurting modern dating?
It's destroying modern dating. What I hate about the OnlyFans conversation is how much the focus is on the girls that are ruining dating. There's 120 million users. There's not 120 million OnlyFans models. It's the men that are funding this that are the real problem. It's the men's obvious desire to kind of have interaction with a woman that they're sexually attracted to. That is fueling their poor self-destructive behavior. And there's men that are married that do this. There's men that and so it's a very ugly kind of coping mechanism. But I think something that is underreported is how many of the OnlyFans girls are actually not taking home the money, and it's actually going to a boyfriend that's set it up for her, and it's actually going to a trafficker. So the whole industry is very, it's just a very dirty environment. I can understand from the woman's perspective, she makes more money than she could ever make by herself. And I always say this, like, as a woman who's had endless reach, I don't make a quarter of an OnlyFans model, considering how much I help men. It just shows you where men are prioritizing in this day and age. I don't think it's their fault. I'm sure that the over-sexualization of women and the sexual movement has made them like that. And if it's anything towards a woman who doesn't love you, doesn't care about you, doesn't want you, and you're just paying to see her naked, and you're just paying for her sexual attention, you naturally start to hate yourself. As a man, you naturally start to hate yourself, because deep down you get 10 minutes of pleasure, but really you feel pathetic afterwards. You have to feel pathetic. And if you don't, you should, because the self-esteem of a man is really measured by what he does in the dark. If secretly he's watching a lot of pornography and paying for OnlyFans girls, trying to see them nakedly, there's no way he can be proud of that behavior. And as a result, he slowly starts to dislike himself, and he engages in more and more self-destructive behavior. So I don't think it's a healthy environment. What do you think of it?
You said it's destroying it.
Yeah.
We had a guest on, Lauren Goodger. Do you know Lauren Goodger?
Please tell me
from the Only Ways Essex.
Oh yeah, Lauren. Yes, she was with Mark Bright.
Yes, we spoke a lot about Mark Bright. She said something that really struck me, and that was, so she's on OnlyFans.
Okay.
But she's on it reluctantly.
Okay.
Because it was the only thing that she could do to keep the bills paid.
It makes total sense. You can't make that kind of money in the real world. So why wouldn't you? Like, it makes total sense. I'm a Muslim woman. It would never cross my mind. But if I wasn't, and if I didn't have this kind of hang up about sex or whatever it was, and you can make thousands and thousands if you're lucky in 1 month, and then retire after a couple of months or a year, it's a no-brainer for a woman in this day and age. I just can't understand the male perspective in it. I just can't. Well, no matter how much I try and understand and this, that, and the other, if curiosity is more important than you, than self-respect, there's problems.
All right, we have to take a breath and say that OnlyFans is not for everyone, but it is for some people, and it is a legal platform. What Sadia is talking about is her set of values, and it really shows that she has high self-respect, because she's holding her values and her beliefs in high regard. That's what self-respect means. So if you want to have self-respect, if you want to nurture that, what it means is first you need to identify what it is that you believe in, what it is that you value, and you have to hold it in high regard, which means that you don't sneak around in private, you shout about it from the rooftop. So if OnlyFans is your thing and you're proud of that, so then talk about it. Talk to your partner about it. Share that with them. That is holding yourself in high respect. But if you feel like you can't share with your partner that you look at OnlyFans, that's absolutely not having high self-respect. There's a couple ways to look at it.
Yeah.
One is, so there's 170 million users.
Yeah.
We know there's probably 4 billion men.
Yeah.
So that's an infantile percentage of how many men.
That's very true.
So it is some of some men.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one.
Yeah.
Secondly is that so me personally, it's interesting. I was on a show. We were talking about OnlyFans and the host said, well, Paul, what do you think of OnlyFans? And I said, I've never been on it. And she said, that's a lie.
Yeah.
I said, no, I've really never been on it. She said, that's a lie. All men have been on. And I think that a massive challenge that men have, and this is something that I personally have, it's an issue that I have, is that we're lopped into this one category of you are stupid, you are sex obsessed, you will never make anything of your life.
Yeah.
And the fact is that that's not helpful.
Yeah, it's not
and it's not factual.
Yeah.
But
do you think that's a generational thing? Do you think that maybe you escaped it, but do you think if you were 28, do you think your mindset would be different?
Mindset to
OnlyFans, to all of these things, because the conditioning received from these young boys is to sexualize them from a very, very young age, to get them used to seeing nudity all the time, where paying for it is a gradual and easy step.
Right. No. So to your point of can it be detrimental?
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
It absolutely can in a variety of ways.
Do you think it could be healthy in any way?
Yeah.
And for a man?
I do. And where I see it being helpful is especially if you're with a partner. So there's several people that are friends of mine who are advocates for ethical pornography.
Yeah.
And when you have a partner and when you're discussing what's happening, you're using it as an opportunity to experiment. You're using it as an opportunity to learn. I think it can be.
It can be healthy.
Another piece of it is that I know there's and I don't know how many couples, but there are some couples, should I say, that I know, one in particular, who they use OnlyFans, they use pornography as the turn on. Right. That's their availability, or that's their opportunity to not physically interject a third person. Yeah. But you know why I prefer
people using third people than actual pornography is because third people give you genuine reality check of what it's like to have an affair. It's a headache. It's a lot of work. These women come with their own baggage and issues. I've met so many men that have actually had the affair and thought, never again. I'm going to be so monogamous to my wife because this girl that I had an affair with was an absolute nightmare. She drove me crazy, blah, blah. So the reason why I'm actually more of an advocate that you go sleep with 10 girls than watch one pornography, or you go have a mistress and get addicted to pornography, is because real women will give you real problems. And real problems will remind you how much you love your wife.
How much you love your wife. I hear you. But instead of like that either or, black or white, what about the gray, which is the partnership who says, you know what, we love each other. We want to have a third person in temporarily. We had a guest on who they go to sex parties.
Right.
I'm assuming you were not pro sex parties.
Absolutely not. But
you were not at a sex party last night, were you, Sadia?
I'm so sorry. I missed it that night. But next week.
And actually, they were saying that London has some wild sex parties.
Okay.
What was interesting is that they said that what they do is similar, but it is better than watching pornography.
Okay.
They don't have sex with other people. but they have sex in front of other people,
Okay.
watch other people, get turned on by it's the voyeurism.
Okay, the voyeurism, yeah. Okay, so they fulfill a fantasy in that moment.
Yes.
Do you know what it is? I need to see long-term data on OnlyFans, pornography, and threesomes for me to then understand what the real reality is, because it's been compact in our generation. We don't know what it's like in the long term. So because of that, I have to reserve judgment. But my general issue, it tends to be with just threesomes and stuff like that in general, is the couple is using another human being as a toy. And I feel a bit like we as human beings shouldn't really start to degrade human beings into just stimulants to our pleasure. So when we're saying that that's empowering and there's sexual freedom, what about that third girl? Like, what about her? So whereas, again, this is where my cultural bias is. When people always ask me, oh, but you're from a polygamous environment and, you come from Muslim backgrounds where they have two wives. For me, I still see an element of respect to another woman that you're marrying, providing, having children for. You're forced to be provide and protect in that environment as well. Whereas a threesome environment is like, she can be in your house and the next day we don't even know who she is, what she is. She could have a disease. We don't care. Mm-hmm. It's a psychopathy that we're breeding in human beings to use another human being as a device to stimulate your own pleasure that I take an objection to.
Push back. And I hear it, but I've talked to the third girl and the third boy.
Yes.
And typically what I hear is that they've detached themselves emotionally to what's happening. Mm-hmm. And they are there pleasure seeking themselves.
Yeah. But I still think consensual pleasure seeking has a long-term negative impact on a human being. I don't know how much we are showing respect to people when we are just capitalizing on their vulnerability towards pleasure seeking in this moment in time and not thinking about, in the long run, we're good. We've got each other. We're going to have a family. We're good. You're going to be still roaming around. I don't know how healthy that is for humans.
No, I'm with you. I think I need to introduce you to my friend, and you two need to go to a sex party together so you can watch.
Haram. I could never. I can't even be on a beach without being a bit embarrassed. Like,
really?
I'm a very, very conservative human being. Yeah.
So are you a one piece with the cover up at the beach?
I'm women's only beaches. And
really?
Women's only swimming pools.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I
women's
know.
only beaches.
They have that in Dubai and pools as well. It's just how I was raised. It was just like a bikini seen as underwear. So you're like, oh, it's haram, it's haram. So, and it's just stuck with you over the years. Yeah, it's just stuck with me. It's so weird.
Oh, wow. No,
it's such a strange thing.
I mean, it's interesting.
And I live in Dubai, where it's just like the sun, see everywhere. But it's just what I was raised as. And I think I just kind of maintained. Welcome to my course on masculinity. And in this course, not only will I be able to completely transform your understanding of women, but on a more personal level, you will enhance your self-esteem, self-respect, and your boundaries. The goal of this course is to take a man that has absolutely fantastic intentions, wants to find love, wants to commit, wants to have a good, healthy relationship, but is finding that he's constantly running into women who are narcissistic, who are disrespectful, who are disloyal. Now, if you are finding that continuously, then there must be something in your engagement with women that is causing this. What my course will do is look at where this problem comes from, how to resolve it, how to communicate effectively with men and women, and how to command respect. Most importantly, how to improve your self-respect. And throughout the course, you'll be given interactive sessions, but with course materials to help you channel and journal your learning. So if you are interested in becoming the most masculine version of yourself, join today.